Hi, everybody. This is Carmen, and
Hi, Nell Wood.
we are. So this is our first video that we're going to do.
Yeah.
Nell and I and Jenny and Mark through one day I had the conversation with all of them individually, and I'm like, we should get together in different forms and so like Jenny will join us one week, and I'm sure Mark will one day, to just talk about topics that we talk about behind the scenes that aren't really great to articulate in a class, but are definitely important. So Nell and I were talking about, do you want to talk about balance instead of the body? We were going to talk about the ideal yoga body and how that's a bunch of BS. Maybe we'll get into it later, but we just kind of started talking about work-life balance and kind of how that means and how we incorporate that into our lives. Because, yeah,
you have to.
You have to.
Yeah, definitely. The whole idea of balance, it's not just, the physical body balance. It's a balance of everything.
Right.
So, balancing the light and the dark.
And, you don't just do yoga. And I don't just do yoga.
No, yeah.
I figured out not very long ago. Sorry, Finnegan might be. Hey, Finn, come here. My dog. He's got to bark at whoever is walking down the street walking their dog. Hey, sit. Lay down. Chill out. Thank you. Good boy. So when we're working with balance, so I go to Orange Theory, not as often as I'd like to, but I'm trying to get back into that a little bit more. We've got the New Year and New Year's resolutions. I've never really been a New Year's resolutioner. Have you?
In the past I have, but I also treat that every moment and every day is like a new beginning. So it doesn't have to be actually December 31st in order to change your life. You can change your life anytime, and yoga's definitely helped me find that. Speaking about what else we do, I also swing the kettlebells at Jess Kettlebells in downtown Bloomington. And if you're looking, shout out to Eileen. And it's one of those things where the stronger I get, the more weight I lift and the heavier weight I lift, it just makes the yoga that much more awesome.
Yeah.
And all the poses are that much more in control, and you feel that support, and then you find that reach from that place. So, yeah.
I talk to my 101 students and some of my other students, but more in 101. I talk about how yoga isn't just stretch. It's stretch, strength, and mobility. And you and I have talked about the mobility component.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you talk to your classes about the mobility component.
That's definitely one of my big main things, is because yoga is not about learning how to stand on your head or balance on one arm and then stick your toes in your ear. I mean, it's not about going into a pretzel, right?
It isn't, right?
It's really about toning and conditioning and strengthening your body so that you can do all the things that you want to do in your life for the rest of your life. You don't want to get to a point where you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where yoga, if you, do it at a consistent basis a little bit at a time, it builds up over time, and you just get stronger and more flexible, and you stay mobile. And so when people say they're not flexible and they're not mobile, I can't do yoga, I'm like, it's because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything. You're probably just getting up and down from your chair, maybe doing a little stretch, like that.
Right.
But need the more stretch, a big stretch.
You totally do. And I think that there's a phrase out there that I've seen that I love, and it's don't judge your beginning by somebody else's middle.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
And here's the thing. In yoga, there's no end. The end is death.
Right.
It really is. They were kind of morbid, these ancient yogis, and they were really obsessed with death. That's why we end in Shavasana every time. Part of the reason. Because it's paying this homage to the cycle of life. And so there's no end. There's no perfection. There's no anything. It's always practice, and it's always just looking at yourself and not comparing yourself to others.
Right.
And I'm not good in a setting where you do compare. Anytime there's somewhat of a competition in the sense of a tryout. I would bomb any tryout I ever went on because I just wasn't, I would get too hung up on what other people are doing And so anything that's really like self-propelled, like I think I would be a good swimmer, or, you know, if I really like to run, like I totally understand the running component, because you're really just looking at your own number and kind of your own success with it. And I think that's why runners and yoga tend to kind of go really well together, because it's very individualized. I think that's why I like Orange Theory.
Yeah.
Because it's all about your heart rate.
Right.
And they even have the lights dim in there.
Yeah.
So you lose some of your peripheral vision of paying attention to what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And,
well, you can see spinning is the same way.
Sure.
I spin
biking.
a couple times a week, and biking, like all that. I mean, it all there's some meditative state. And we even joke in swinging the kettlebell that you get, there's that swinger's euphoria, like that runner's euphoria. You get to that place. I mean, that's in any type of physical activity. I mean, even in yoga, you can get to that yoga euphoria.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, so we talked about the other things that we do for balance physically. Do you do anything other than kettlebells and yoga?
Spinning.
You spin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and no, that's about it. So strength training and cardio and stretching. Yeah. Which I get all the things I'm supposed to get.
Yeah. We just got a treadmill. And so I'm really excited about that, because today is January 15th, and we just had the 9 inches of snow on Saturday, and it's still here. And we had ice this morning, and we're going to get 3 more inches tomorrow night. And so, you know, I really wanted a treadmill, partially because like my husband, sometimes he just wants to get a run in, and to go to the gym and do all that stuff. And then it's like an hour for him just to like run 3 miles to go to the gym on a day like today where it's not as available.
Right.
Or it's a little too dangerous. And I like to walk. Like I'll get like a 20-minute thing, like window, and I just want to like do a quick walk.
Yeah.
And so we got a treadmill for each other for Christmas, just like off Facebook Marketplace. And it's been awesome. Like you just kind of go and get it done, and you get that movement, you get the wiggles out. Yeah,
for sure. I've got a rowing machine that I can put into a closet and then pull out. So if I do ever, you know, I actually like to go to the gym. It's like, I'm doing this. This is this activity that I have to do and go and do. But definitely the convenience of having something at home, because I, you know, lift weights and swing kettlebells at home. So, yeah, I think it's important to have that little spot where you can do your own thing. And then do the things that you want to do. And it doesn't have to be the same thing, like, all the time, right? You can mix it up as long as you're staying active. And
the variety. Yeah. I love to swim. Yeah. And I was a little heartbroken. So the Big Golds, which is really close to where I'm at, they just concreted in their pool.
Oh.
I guess it was going to cost them somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 to fix it.
Oh.
Like it was it's just, Gold's Gym's probably been around at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And they were just having a lot of maintenance issues with the pool, so they decided to just pave over it and expand some of the group fitness stuff. And I was a little bummed, because I'm like, dang it. So I might have to run out to LA to get some swimming in.
Yeah, their pool's really nice. I haven't been in it yet, but it looks really nice. Swimming is something that I've thought about adding to the repertoire. Yeah. Just to do it, right? It's like once a week or once every 2 weeks or something.
Don't you think we get stuck on it only being one thing? Like I think that sometimes students will talk to me, or people will talk to me like yoga is the only thing I do. Mm-hmm. And not that I'm like the pillar of health over here, by the way. But like I like the variety too. I like to change it up. When we were in Europe, like we were walking like a crazy amount of miles every day. And it just felt like you didn't think about it until after, and you're looking at your pedometer on your phone, and you're like, holy cow. But it just felt good to walk and to be a part of that. I think that our community doesn't really lend itself to being a walking community. We're not a pedestrian area. No. Even the way that downtown is kind of plugged between Easton and Madison, and then Veterans Parkway, it all like lends itself to driving.
Oh, most definitely.
Walking. And I'm like, wow, I wish that was considered more.
Right. And then, 3 to 4 months out of the year, it's just
impossible.
It's impossible to be walking, because it's just winter weather. And so that's why it's important to try, because it's not happening organically in your day, right?
Right,
You're not having to walk so many miles or so many steps. So you have to add in that extra mobility exercise, that strength training, the stretching, whatever. And it doesn't have to be formal, but there's so many options if you do want the formal, right? If you want the group classes or the yoga classes or anything like that.
When I was in the restaurant business, one of my favorite things about being in the restaurant business is how much I was on my feet. I loved the physical component.
Right.
Like, I loved moving. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to kind of even if you were having a total crap day and you walked into a space where you were just moving, it immediately started to perk you up. And I know there's a chemical component to that.
Right.
It was also like you had to be nice to people.
Right.
And when you slap a smile on your face, you instantly feel better.
Right.
And it was all the psychosis plus the physical activity, like between those two things, and you'd feel better after a little while.
I definitely know it contributes to my overall general great well-being.
Yeah.
And I worked in the corporate world for 20 plus years and sat behind a desk, and coincidentally, I've done yoga for 20 years. So it's like both those things. I know, it's kind of weird. It's like I started working, like sitting behind that desk and doing that corporate job. And then I also found yoga pretty much about the same time, or committed to yoga about the same time. And yeah, it's definitely saved my rump, my butt, my behind, because I crave that physical.
Yeah.
And ever since I was a kid, I've known that I need to be moving, even though, I was not a gymnast or a dancer. Like, I'm like, come on, Mom, Dad, you totally missed the boat. I would have been the best dancer or the best gymnast. I would have been in the Olympics.
Yeah, man. I agree with that, actually. There's a Swami Kripalu quote, and tell me if you know this, but it's Swami Kripalu said, if you have a mental job, if you have a physical job, you need physical rest at the end of the day. And if you have a mental job, you need physical activity to rest the mind.
That's a good quote, and I like him.
And I've been kind of like sitting on that for a while. Probably, I think I first read it like 8 months ago, and I'm like, you know what? I need to process that. Like, what have I been doing today, and how is that going to feed me the rest of the day? Because it's so easy, depending on my day. Sometimes I'm sitting on my butt in front of a computer. Sometimes I'm teaching 6 or 7 classes. And it's really like night and day like that. Like Mondays I teach 2, but I'm at the store all day. Tuesdays I teach, right now I think I'm at 5, but I was at 7.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, my body just ached. So
I thought the dog was down there.
Oh yeah, he's probably went upstairs and got in my bed. So you really like kind of have to identify that, because it's really easy to like get into these patterns where I come home, I sit on the couch, and I'm just not as nourished by, don't get me wrong, I love television, by the way. I'm just not as nourished by it.
Right.
Like, and I was telling Nell before we started the video, one of my biggest things, like, I don't know that people know that I used to do semi-professional writing. And so when I started to become a yoga instructor, it was because my writing career was taking off and I wanted something to supplement that income. And so my writing was actually, it was paying some bills.
Wow.
But then, I bought the studio and I kind of set that aside, and I'm all fine. Like, it's all fine the way that's worked out. But I did some travel writing, but more like food writing, and I have this blog, and I used to have this wine company send me wine to create menus around.
Oh.
And I, blog about that and stuff like that. So it wasn't like paying my rent, but it was, paying my light bill.
Right. And if you have something to enjoy.
Maybe the gas bill.
Yeah.
And it was starting to grow, and I had a cover of a little magazine. They hired me to do a cover story. And so like things were starting to build. And, but I loved to cook, and that was one of the things. And so to me, cooking is really, just, there's a sense of completion to it. It helps, mitigate, anxious tendencies in me. And so what I've found over the last year of opening the store and having 2 businesses now was like, I'd really gotten away from some of those things that create balance
right.
in my world. like I was teaching way too many classes. I had way too many classes on my schedule. Like I was tipping the scales way too far in one direction, because my response anytime that I'm, nervous about work or whatever is, how can I work more to nurture work?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the gateway to being a workaholic.
A little bit.
It's like, it sounds like a gateway drug. Like, I'll just work more.
Right. But that's one of those things, like working more isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's like, doesn't have to be a struggle. I mean, because working is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it means you're creating something, right?
Yeah.
And you're putting your energy behind something that you're passionate about. Hopefully that's what your work is. But and it is.
Noticing, like, because like businesses respond. And I really do feel like the energy that you put into your business or to your dog or your kid or your house or whatever, like it responds, and there's like a reciprocation of energy. And one of these days we'll talk about Deborah Adele's Yamas and Yamas book, and we'll get all into that because I know you love that book
I love
too.
that book.
And but like brahmacharya, like to me brahmacharya, which is the fourth yama, it has a concept of like work smarter, not harder.
Right.
And I think over the last like 6 months, I was just doing nothing but working harder and making it harder for myself. And so now it's like, okay, if I'm honoring, like, because the thing is that, yoga, the yoga lifestyle isn't necessarily like how far I can put my foot behind my head.
Right.
It's, honoring the body, the mind, understanding like how you're stealing from yourself or from others, how a truth component weighs in and can cause harm or good.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of different elements to it. And one of the things that I was doing is I wasn't honoring brahmacharya, and I was making everything so difficult for myself. I don't know that other people felt or saw that. Maybe they did, but I was really making life difficult for me. And one of the things that I started working on in like October, November was scaling back some of my schedules so that I wasn't teaching as many classes, and that I could come home and I could make dinner.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's important. And
the sleep that I'm getting now over the last couple of weeks has been like night and day.
Yeah. And, this last year was kind of like a rug pulled out from underneath me. Like, I really felt like I was upended. But I already had instilled in myself really good self-care rituals. Like, I was getting enough sleep. Like, I floss 4 times a week at least. That's really better than no times a week. 4 times a week is pretty good. I pay myself.
I love that that's what you go to. Like, to you, you're like, I'm flossing.
I'm flossing.
My life is in control.
Pretty much. As long as if I'm flossing, things are okay. It's the first thing out the door. But yeah, no, I had like already instilled those self-care rituals. And that sleep thing is the most important thing, because there were, years where I can just remember, and I didn't even have little kids I was chasing around. Right. I'm just talking about the social life and the work life and everything, where you just are like running on fumes all the time. And it seems natural, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody else is running around that way too. And that the yogi lifestyle is in direct contradiction to the culture that we live in, even because it's all go, 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 go. And yoga is all about go, and take a break.
And be present.
And be present. And you're right. And check in. Yeah.
I like to talk about the present state in my class, because I think sometimes we as teachers, like at the beginning of class, it's pretty common for a teacher to be like, set your intention. And most of the time, I think my students are like, dude, I drove here.
Most
like
definitely.
My intention was just to make it to class.
Yeah. No, I agree. Actually, I actually set the intention for the class with the opportunity then for them to expand or set their own. Of course. I was like, I'm that bossy.
Sometimes I'm like, and if your intention was just to get here today,
that's great.
Just be here. Like, take in like the sounds of the room.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we do is, where was I going to go with that? Is we talk about intention, but then we always talk about be present. Be present. Well, what's that mean? Well, I want you to actually feel the seconds tick by. Like, I want you to think about your class as like an intermission. If you were to take, anytime the intermission comes on in a play or a movie, like it's a potty break, it's, you know, refresh yourself with
Right.
some water. It's all about just kind of refresh and get the wiggles out and whatever. Like, can your practice be an intermission for you?
I love that.
And your mind, and just like,
I'm going to totally steal that.
steal it. Just because, like, we do, like, be present.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like sometimes the languaging that teachers use, it's so redundant that I think it loses its meaning.
Right, but I think that redundancy is good. It's consistency. Like,
Sure.
you want to hear the same thing because it does take, sometimes it takes it hearing it over and over
Right.
for it to sink in. Right?
And I think, well, and, you know, the one that I always feel like I wear out is, you know, are you clenching your jaw? And I swear to God, like, at least once a week, I feel like I say that all the time. And my students are like, oh my gosh, how do you know?
Yeah. Typically, people are clenching.
Because I can't go a week without somebody being like, thank you for saying that. I know to keep saying it.
Do you find yourself clenching your jaw? So maybe it's like a thing that, yeah, definitely.
Oh, I totally have TMJ.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
am a night clencher, but hopefully not a grinder. He doesn't think that I grind. My God. They keep trying to put me in like a mouth guard, and I'm all like,
oh, wow.
I just feel like in the middle of the night, I'm going to go.
I think, you know, if you grind, I think it really hurts. It's like you really, as the residuals of the grinding
and
linger.
And they can see it on the tops of your teeth.
Yeah.
And they've noticed that it's more like a tightness here, although my chiropractor has been really helpful with this.
I've gone to the chiropractor. They used to like do like a little thing in the jaw to like open
the little gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My chiropractor, I think, is former CIA. He scares me a little. One more millimeter to the left, and I think I'm a goner.
Wow.
Like, he's hardcore.
Wow.
I totally love him, though. He scares me a little. So, but yeah. Balance.
Balance.
What else do you do to balance? You said you had a good self-care thing going on.
So yeah, well, I am definitely all about making sure that I am taking care of myself first in order to then turn around and take care of whoever, you know, the responsibilities I have in my life, and then also to show up in the world in a better place. Before yoga, found myself, especially like in the car, like road rage.
Oh, really?
And this town, no one knows how to drive, right? And like Veterans Parkway sucks, right? And so like, of course, it's going to send you like over the edge every time. And one of the things that has completely changed in my life is how I respond to traffic. And before I was pissed at traffic all the time, and yoga has helped me realize that I am traffic, right? While I'm in traffic. And so everyone's trying to get somewhere, right? As I'm, you know, all those things that you know intellectually, but yet you still, when you're, you know, delayed or inconvenienced, or you think someone's not making this kind of driving move that you would make, right? You lose your shit, lose your stuff. And and I definitely, being aware of that is the first thing of when that's happening, and then being able to not align with it, right? That's all about that practicing of being present. And so I meditate. So that is really how I give myself that pause, that intermission. And I've been doing that for about 4 years. Well, I've been meditating for 10 years, but I have been sitting every day for like the last 4 or 5.
Nice.
Yeah, and that has made all the difference. Like practicing that pause, taking that intermission for myself. And it's one of those things where it's built up over time. And so that's been the most important thing that I've been able to do for myself. That right there, that pausing, that being in that, you know, just paying attention to what's going on and then not judging it or doing anything with it at the time, then that helps me and other people, because you always hear the benefits about meditation, right? But it helps you focus on then the important things, and you then prioritize the way that you want to, not just the way you think you should, right? It's the way you want to. So then you start designing that beautiful, wonderful life that and it's like this wonderful thing. And it's not about look at me and be jealous. It's just about look at me and you can design your own, right?
Yes. And I love that you said that, because like we we tend to overlook contentment. And I was listening to this podcast, and in the podcast they were talking about like those social constructs, and I'm not going to try to get real political, but just the equalizing like genders and races and all that. And the point of the conversation wasn't to take away opportunity and give it to others. It was about everybody just being on the same level. And to me that came up as like bringing a sense of contentment in. And in yoga, it's not about being better in the sense of better than the other person, but it's about being content in where you are now and how far we get away from that. And I think especially when we kind of get into the yamas and niyamas conversation, I think that's the hardest thing for individuals to internalize sometimes. How do you build this mindset of being content here? Like if everything just paused.
Right.
You never got another raise, you never got another job, like it was just this. Like are you okay with it? How can you be content with it?
Right. Yeah, and that's one of those things where the culture tells you to only, pull and attract stuff that you want, that you love, that you like, and then to push away all that stuff that you don't want or that you hate. And that's the culture, right? But the yogi lifestyle, the yogi way to do it is to accept it all, right? And that's how you be content. But it's not about the pushing and then the pulling away. That just keeps you in this never-ending cycle of
the grass is greener, whereas the grass is green.
Exactly, the grass is, and that also brings, like you said, the grass is green, or the grass is green, right? Like that's like the filling up your cup, right? Yeah. Like yoga is like a way for you to fill up your cup. So because if you find your liquid level or the level in your cup too low, then you definitely want to fill it up so you feel full and you can give it out to the world.
Right.
And the thing is if you already feel full, right, you want to be able to then, sometimes you got to give a little bit of your stuff away. But the thing is that you're the one actually pouring the water, right?
I love that analogy.
Exactly. It's not just about your cup being full or not full, but you have to recognize you're pouring the water.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For sure. Awesome. Well, I think we're going to end there.
Yay!
Partially because Levi just came home for lunch. I know. It was super fun. Anyway, so that was just a little bit for me and Nell about balance and contentment and
our 2 cents.
Our 2 cents. And we're going to do this again. So hopefully you'll join us. And thanks. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Having water with me. Bye, guys.
Bye.